Look at my eyes. What do you see? Do you notice the different parts of the eye? Maybe there's a little highlight that you can see there. You can see the black parts of my eyes. What color are my eyes? My eyes usually change colors. Can you see my eyebrows and the shape of my eyebrows? How much space is between my eyes? Can you see which direction my eyelashes go? Today we are going to be doing some eye-catching art for our theme this year. Our theme that we are doing for our school year is Fix Your Eyes on Jesus. And so we will be doing some eye art to go with that theme. Here are some examples that I made using little paint examples from the hardware store. So we are going to be making some eyes to add to our project. And I'm going to walk you step by step through doing this. Now, we're using Sharpies and crayons today, but if there are other different materials that you want to use, like oil pastels or paint or color pencils, feel free to do that too. We're going to put all of our eyes together in one big collaborative project that will go with fixing our eyes on Jesus. So follow along and see if you can create some eye-catching art with me. For this project, there are a couple of different things you could do. You could use a larger paper if you want your eyes to be rather big. Sometimes it actually works well to make your eyes large. You could use maybe a larger index card. That might work well too. I think what I'm going to do though is I'm using these paint samples. This is Dutchboy. I just get them at the hardware store and they're super fun to use for art projects. So I have these. I like that they're narrow and long. I'm going to use a Sharpie. You don't have to, you could just use a pencil. And then I'm going to color mine with crayons, but you could use oil pastels, you could use paint, kind of whatever art supplies you have around. You'll also need some circles to trace. I think I'm going to use a nickel. I think that will be a good size for me to get started. Now, if you want to, you can trace starting with a pencil, but I'm gonna live on the wild side and I'm gonna trace with a Sharpie. So let me zoom you in a little bit so you can see. And I'm gonna go ahead and do it on these two different backgrounds so you can see two different colors. And the reason I picked the yellow and the kind of this reddish color is just to kind of play around with different skin tones too. So you may wanna get, some creams and some browns and some reds just to kind of show or represent the variety of skin tones. All right, I'm gonna start with my nickel here and I'm gonna try to I'll have two, so I'll try to kind of put it off to the side. This is gonna represent my eyeballs. So I wanna make sure that they're on the side of my paper, not right in the middle. So there's one, and then I'll do another one kind of over here. And I'll go ahead and trace that with my Sharpie here. But again, you could do it with pencil if you want to first. There's my second one. I'll go ahead and do the same thing on this one as well. So one circle here, and then I'll do another one over here. And I'm using Sharpie, especially just so that you guys can see better what I am doing. That's all I will need my circles for, so I can put them off to the side. If you have other circle tracers, that's great too. Got my crayons ready, but before I jump into crayons, I do want to do a little bit more with my Sharpies. So to make this look, instead of just like a circle, to make it come together and look more like an eye, I'm going to add some dots on either side of my eyes, one here and one there. And then I'm going to trace a line or draw a line that's kind of curved that connects those dots. So it's going to start at one dot, it's going to come up to the top of my circle, and then it's gonna come down to connect my other dot, just like that. So I'll do that on this side too, up and down. And I'm gonna go ahead and do that on this as well. So I'm just gonna put some circles. You can put them closer in or farther out if you want. It just will make your eye shapes a little bit different, and that's okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and start by drawing a curved line over the top, and it's gonna connect each of my dots, okay? Next, I'm gonna do the same thing under my circle. So I'm gonna go ahead and start by making a line that hits the bottom edge of my circle like this. One, and another one like that. And I'll do the same thing on the bottom here. So I'm gonna connect the bottom of my eyes as well. All right, now if we wanted to get a little bit fancier, which of course I do, there's some other elements that we need to add to these eyes. So one thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna add another circle on the inside. It's circle or oval. And I'm gonna go ahead and do that on all of mine. And you can play around with how big or small you want it. If you want it a little bit bigger, you can make it a little bit bigger. If you want it smaller, you can make it a little smaller. I'm also gonna do another smaller circle inside of that one. And that one can be touching one of the edges if you want. It could just be floating in the middle like this if you want. It doesn't matter. And then I'm gonna color around that little circle with my black. And I'm gonna go ahead and do that on all of my examples here. So that one's got the black. Now I'll do it on this one as well. One and two. And you could do this with black crayon. It doesn't have to be with the Sharpie, but I figure since I've got the black ready, I can go ahead and do it with the Sharpie. And then I'm gonna go ahead and go up and down, up and down, making extra lines just above the eyes. That would be the eyelids. And then we might be able to fit some eyebrows in there, but I might wait until and do that with the crayon. So I think that's all I want to do for my Sharpie for now. I'm going to go ahead and put that away and switch to my crayon. Now I could just be done, those could be my eyes, but of course I want to make my eyes colored. So I'm gonna maybe go with some blue first because my eyes are blue, and there's different blue crayons in my crayon, so you could kind of pick which blue you want. This is Bluetiful, I've got indigo, I've got just like a regular blue, I've got cerulean, so you can decide which blue or which green or hazel, whatever color you want to do. I'll see what this Bluetiful looks like. And when I color in my eyes, I like to do it kind of in a radial way. So I have it kind of radiating around the center of my eye. And I'm going to color all the way around like that. And if you want to get fancy, you know, you could even use like a darker color and maybe darken just the edge a little bit. That gives it a little bit of shading. That's my one eye. I can go ahead and do that same thing on my second one here. So I'll go in a radial pattern, so it kind of goes in a circle around the center of my eye, and then maybe I'll use a little bit of a darker blue to add a little bit of shading right along the outside edge. So if you want to get a little fancier with your eye. Okay, and then maybe this one I'll do brown eyes, because I know a lot of people have brown eyes. So here's my brown crayon, and the same thing goes for that. I'll go ahead and color in a radial pattern. It's a little harder to see on the dark paper, but that's okay. Making it work here. And I might even use like a black or a really dark color to make it so that it has a little bit of shading on it. So I'll use a little bit of black on the outside edges of my brown. All right. Now the nice thing about working on colored paper is you can also color with white, which is something that we don't normally get to do. So you could make like these little highlights with the little white. You could try to color a little bit of white inside of the white part of the eyes. It may still end up looking a little bit yellow or a little bit of like the red, but it lightens it up a little bit. If the crayon isn't working that well, you could also try using oil pastels, but for this, I'm just gonna use crayon, which shows up better on the red one. It's kind of fun. So there's the white part of the eyes. Colored pencil would probably work just fine too. So maybe you can experiment with some different supplies. I'll add that little white highlight in there. All right, now I can leave it like this and call it a masterpiece, or I could add a little bit more detail shading to the eyes as well. So if you want to add some shading, you know, you can usually add a little bit of dark kind of right in between the eyes. This would be kind of where the nose would be going, and we wouldn't see the nose necessarily, but you could at least kind of darken the area that would be going around the nose like that. You could also add things like a little bit of dark on the eyelids, because usually those are a little bit darker. Maybe there's a little bit of a line under the eyes, especially if you smile a lot. You might have little smile lines. I'll do the same thing on the dark here. I'm just using a brown. If you have kind of a tannish color, you could try using a tannish color. I'm just gonna darken kind of in between the eyes with a little bit of that. I'm gonna go under or over the eyes. This would be too, if you wanted to add kind of a little bit of an eyebrow, you could do that. So I'm adding a little bit with my brown. Usually that just goes up above the eyes. And this one, maybe I'll do a darker one. Maybe I'll do black eyebrows. They're really close to the top edge of the paper, so it just depends on how big of a paper you have as to how much of the eyebrows show. Like that. And then you could also add things like eyelashes, okay? So now that I've got some of the basics here, I might go actually back to my Sharpie and I might add some eyelashes. Even if you are a boy, you would at least have some little ones. And usually I start right along the lid and then I kind of pull up and away. They curve away from the center of the face. So here's some eyelashes going that direction. These would go this direction, kind of curving away from the center of the face. The same thing goes on the bottom here. Just real short ones on the bottom. I try to make it so that they're not very big. Now, if you are a girl and you want to get really fancy with, you know, eyeshadow, or you want to do like cat eyeliner or something, I won't hold you back. Go for it. But for now, I think I'm going to keep mine pretty straightforward. Adding some eyelashes here. Eyelashes on the top. They all curve away from the center. Like that. All right, now I've got my eyes drawn. I'd probably go ahead and put my name on the back. So Mrs. Elke. And then I am going to get a lot of people to do eyes with me, and we are going to display them all for our theme, which is Fix Your Eyes on Jesus. So that'll work really well for our theme this year. But if you just want to practice doing eyes, you could also try that as well. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this eye drawing tutorial and can't wait to see how your eyes turn out.